Hi guys, welcome back to Girl Therapy. I'm your host, Nicole. I am so excited for today's episode. Let me just fill you in a little bit on things that are going on. I leave for Austin in 4 days. I'm going to spend a week there for my birthday. My birthday is the 29th. I just want to say happy birthday to all my Aries sisters. This Aries season has started off really slow for me. I don't know about you, but I literally have not left my couch in like 4 days. It's been like raining here in Miami and it's given me the perfect excuse just to slow down, reset, gather all my energy for this season and for my birthday week because we are going hard, girls. We are going hard. It is my golden birthday. I am turning 29 years old. Could you believe I literally don't look a day over 21? Like, what? What? And believe me, I feel 21. I actually feel like I look younger than I did at 21 now. So maybe it's the braids today. I'm excited to turn 29. And I'm not trying to like talk myself into that or convince myself, like genuinely, I'm excited to be turning 29 because at the end of the day, it's how you feel. I'm so happy with where I'm at in my life, and every year has gotten me closer to the person that I want to be, has made me feel more like me, and I've come into myself every single year. I get better. Why would I not be excited to turn 29 then? Like, age is but a number. I'm still like young at heart. It doesn't scare me to turn 29. I think like it used to really scare me to get older because I thought that meant being sad, being miserable, or like, you know, just being afraid of growing up and either leaving people in the past, moving on from things changing, or me not like having my shit figured out. Like sometimes it's scary when like life is happening and you're like, wait, I'm getting older and I still don't know what I want to do in my life. And like that's like how it'll feel in the moment. But then the year goes by and you're like, wait, I kind of started to figure things out. Like I'm getting closer and closer. And every year I get closer and closer to my goals, my dreams. It doesn't scare you to get older when you're working towards something and when you're accomplishing something and when you're doing something. So I feel really good about going into this year. This year is going to bring so many blessings because last year did. If last year brought all those blessings, then this year is going to be even better because I'm stepping into 29 knowing myself even more, which means that when I get to 30, I'm going to know myself like tenfold. Because the amount of lessons and things I've learned this year is insane. I have learned more this year, I think, than I ever have in my entire life. And that's what today's episode is going to be. I'm going to be sharing things that I've learned this last year. Because so much can change in 1 year and so much has changed in 1 year. Bitch, I lived in 2 different states. I lived in 2 states this year. I lived in LA and I lived in Miami. That's crazy that all that happened within just a couple months. I just wanted to take this time to reflect on all the things that I've learned this year. I've learned these things through my own experiences. I learned these things by making the mistakes, by doing the things that I was supposed to do. I followed my own path. I don't want to do like things I wish I knew because I learned the things by making the mistakes, and that's how it stuck with me. Like I learned by doing. We can hear people's advice all day, but it doesn't mean it's going to stick, and it doesn't mean that it's going to prevent you from making those same mistakes. So I'm just going to share my journey to make you feel better about the fact that you might make these same mistakes. These things might happen to you, but you're going to come out better and you're going to come out learning, and it's going to be your own path and it's going to be your own journey. I kind of separated it into categories. I have love, friendships, and life and work. Let's start with friendships because I feel like that was a huge one for me this year, and so much has changed in terms of the people in my life from the beginning of this year to now. The first thing that like I think is the most important is that it's never too late to meet your best friend. I met Livy under a year ago. Our friend's anniversary is April 17th. Because I invited her on my birthday trip last year and I went a couple weeks after my actual birthday. And that was the first time I ever met that bitch. And now we're best friends. She's my sister. I can't imagine my life without her. And it's just so crazy because I thought at the age of 28, I'd met every single person who was really going to make a massive impact on my life. Like I really thought that I met every single person who was going to be closest to me, who could be my best friend. A best friend is not a small thing. And it's a word that I definitely tossed around. And that's another thing I learned this year is not just to toss around the term best friend. It's okay if you only have one. You don't have to refer to everybody as your best friend. And I've definitely talked about that in my friendship podcast where I called a girl in my life my best friend and she was doing shitty things behind my back. She was talking shit about me. She was giving me low vibrational energy. And I walked away from interactions with her just not feeling good. And I was like, that's not a best friend. And it took me a while to get there. But I just simply didn't want to let go of the term. I didn't want to accept the fact that she wasn't a best friend because I was afraid of looking like I didn't have any friends, or I was afraid of undermining our relationship. And I really wanted to put like the label on it to justify all the stuff I was putting up with. I was like, well, she's my best friend. You know, like she's my best friend. At the end of the day, she has my back. Like I was trying to convince myself that she was a good friend by calling her my best friend. And I almost don't want to like step on people's toes or make people feel bad when I don't call them my best friend. Because I have people in my life who are close to me and I see a lot, but maybe they're not my best friend. I was always scared to like not call somebody my best friend in terms of like, I didn't want to hurt their feelings. I didn't want to make them feel like I didn't appreciate them by not calling them that. But not everybody can be your best friend. And that's okay. So this year it was like, okay, stop throwing around the term loosely. When Livy came into my life and she showed me what a real friend is like, I was like, how can I put her in the same category as this girl who isn't showing up for me, who isn't encouraging me, who doesn't support me, and is talking badly behind my back? How could I call those two people my best friends? So it made me reevaluate what is a best friend. It's just so crazy that I met somebody this last year who I can't imagine my life without and has made my life so much better. And you never think you're going to meet your best friend, like your sister at 28, but I did. And I'm so happy I was open to that. And I'm so happy I took the leap of reaching out to Livy and inviting her on my birthday trip, which was something that was so crazy. Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to ask somebody on a date, a friend date, you know, don't be afraid to ask for a girl's number. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody. If you see somebody and you feel that inclination, you ever like see somebody and you're like, oh, I really want to tell that girl that I like her shirt. I really want to tell her that I like her hair, or really want to compliment that girl, or just tell her she's beautiful, or just say hi. If you feel that in your bones, say hi, act on it, because that's your intuition. That's like something pulling you towards that person. Your energies are like being pulled towards each other. At least yours is towards them. When you open yourself up to people like that, when you open that door, you open yourself up to opportunities. And then you open yourself up to friendships. People are constantly like, how do you make friends? How do you make friends? Well, you're not going to make friends if you're not putting yourself out there. You're not going to make friends if you're not talking to people. You're not going to make friends if you're not friendly. You have to say hi. So I encourage you, put yourself out there. Say hi to people, even if you risk looking stupid. Honestly, that person's just gonna look like an asshole if you compliment them and they're just like, oh, thank you. And you know what? If they do that, okay, whatever. Not everybody can be your friend or wants to be your friend. You won't want that person to be your friend anyways if they react like that. But if somebody's like, you know, says thank you, oh my God, and then they compliment you and now we're talking, now we have things in common, don't be afraid to be like, oh, like ask a little about themselves. Do you live around here? Like, whatever. Hey, I would love to like grab coffee with you one time. Or like, do you come here often? Like maybe we should plan a time to come here together. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. It's the only way you're going to make friends. If I didn't slide into Livy's DMs, start, you know, like messaging her and then take the leap of faith of being like, hey, do you want to come on my birthday trip with me? I know this is insane, but like, I really like you. I was picking up on her energies. You know, I was like, come to Tulum with me. She was like, okay. She came. Could it have gone terribly wrong? Yes. Did it not though? No. It went amazing. And now I have a partner in life and somebody who's changed my life for the better. Shout out Livy, if you're listening to this right now. I love you so much. Can't imagine my life without you. And I'm so excited to go into this next year with you by my side and to ring in my birthday with you. Like last year, the group of people I had surrounding me on my birthday is very different than the people I have surrounding me this year. Some things are, you know, pretty similar. The role that people play in my life is really different this year. The capacity in which some people are in my life this year is a lot different than what it was at my birthday last year. And that's okay because we grow and we change and we grow up. If you're afraid of losing people or outgrowing people, you're going to hold yourself back and you're never going to meet new people. Don't be afraid to let some people go. That was my other thing. It's like, don't be afraid to let people go. You outgrow friendships. We change every single year. You're changing. Your personalities might not align. Your values might not align with somebody. You might even move cities. And then that just changes your lifestyles tremendously. People outgrow each other and it's completely normal. And at that same rate, at that same time where you might outgrow somebody might also come back into your life who you outgrew when you were younger. I reconnected with my best friend, Caitlin. She was my best friend in high school. Hadn't talked to her for years. She moved to Texas. We reunited. We came together when both of us were just at a place in our lives where we're actually like, wait, we're really similar. She's kind of on the same life path as me. We have the same values. We kind of always have. We have a very similar sense of humor. We just disconnected for a while. She was focusing on her. She was fixing things in her life. I was fixing things in my life. I was figuring out where I belonged, what I wanted to do. And then I made an effort to go see her. And then I saw her and I was like, wow, like I am so happy we come together. And I don't think we could have had this friendship, you know, if we hadn't had that time apart. And there's people who've come into my life besides Caitlin, my other friend here in Miami, who I kind of pulled away from last year because she was bringing a lot of drama into my life. And she grew up and we reconnected this year and our friendship's, solid too. You might outgrow people, yes, and that might be scary, but don't be afraid to let people go because one, they might come back into your life, or two, that means making room for somebody else to come in. And I think that is such an important lesson. My next one, also just similar to like being okay with like letting people go and like assessing, relationships in your life, is like pay attention to the way that people make you feel around you. If you are not leaving your interactions with your friends inspired, feeling supported, feeling motivated, feeling like they just filled up your cup, feeling energized, if you're walking away feeling anxious, questioning things, feeling like maybe insecure, they're probably not a good friend. Pay attention to that energy and really take it seriously, because our bodies don't lie. And if someone's not good for us, why are we keeping them in our life? It is so important to surround yourself with the best people and the people that you want to be, because they truly are a reflection of you. And I think I've changed and, developed and grown so much this year because I'm surrounding myself with the right people. And I'm surrounding myself with the people who make me feel good. Because if I'm feeling good around my friends, I'm going to come home and I'm going to feel good. And then I'm going to be able to like put out good content that's going to make you guys feel good. And it's just a big cycle of feeling good. If I was going and hanging out with friends who felt low energy, who made me, participate in activities that maybe I didn't want to do, or dragged me into things that I didn't want to do, or people who would like party a lot. And I was like, well, I don't party anymore, but I would go just to hang out with them. And then I'm coming back and I'm feeling like, well, that was a waste of my time. Well, that took away from the things that I wanted to do today, or, that didn't make me feel good. That didn't make me a better person, or we didn't have any deep conversations. Then I'm feeling bad about myself. And then I'm questioning things. I'm spiraling. That energy is just rubbed off onto me. And now I'm like disappointed. And now I don't feel so good. Or if I'm surrounding myself with people who maybe don't believe in me or talk down to me, and then I'm going home and then I'm going to think those things. And then the content and the stuff I put out there is going to be a reflection of that. And you guys are going to pick up on that. And then it becomes this cycle, this negative cycle. So the people that you surround yourself with are huge. Never underestimate the power of that. And keep that in mind. If you have one person that's surrounding you and that's it, if this means cutting off a bunch of people in your life, do it. I promise it's the best thing you will ever do for yourself, because new people will come into your life and better people will come in, because you'll be a better version of yourself and you'll be attracting better people for you and people who are more aligned with you. Better to have one friend who has your back than 5 who are kind of like meh friends. Trust me, trust that. And lastly, I will say like a good friend is going to inspire, support, and push you. Livy has pushed me this year. She's somebody who will call me on my shit. You need those real people in your life. You need the people who scare you a little bit. You need the people who want better for you and see things for you, manifest for you. You want those people in your corner. You don't want people who are just yes men, just like put you on a pedestal. That doesn't feel good either. You want people who really push you and aren't scared to call you on your shit, because that's what's going to make you grow. So I feel like that's my little spiel on friendships. Let's get into love, because that was probably one of my other biggest lessons this year. And when is it not? We're always, talking about relationships and all that stuff. God, I've transformed so much this year when it comes to love, the people that I'm attracted to and the people that I'm allowing in my life. If you've followed me from the beginning, you know a lot of the stories and you've seen a lot of things. You've seen me go on a lot of dates. You've seen me talk about a lot of people. You've seen me go through some shit. You've seen me cry. This year, I will say I have never felt more powerful. In the last 6 months, I have completely transformed. And I am happy to say that I've gotten over the man who it took me so long to get over. I finally got over him. This is somebody who I never thought I'd get over. He just was constantly like it was just not good for my energy. And I was allowing this person in and it wasn't making me feel good. And I was just like, I think I'll always have love for him and all this stuff. And yeah, like maybe I will, but it's like he no longer controls my emotions. And I have such a good grip on it now. And I'm so confident going into my relationships moving forward, that like I learned from the mistakes that I made from this person. I'm also just so happy that I'm now able to date with my full heart and allow somebody in with my full heart, because that was holding me back for a really long time. I was attached to this one person, right? We all have that one person. And I was still dating. I was still living my life. I was still happy. I was still seeing other people. But at the end of the day, there was something that was holding me back. And it was the fact that I was so afraid of letting this person go. I was still so attached to this person that I never let somebody get too close to me. I never let somebody come in who could potentially threaten that, because I was so afraid of letting that go. Because I think it's just because I never got their full validation. And to allow somebody else in would be closing that chapter without winning, closing that chapter without like tying that bow up nice and pretty, closing that chapter knowing that that person took advantage of me and got away with it. And that was really hard for me. And that was something that I didn't want to accept. And it also meant like allowing something real to come in. And I think a lot of the reason why we allow people in our life who aren't good for us is we're actually afraid of the real thing, or we have so many things that we still need to work on. And that person's easier. That person's the default. That person's comfortable. I actually saw a quote today. Don't sabotage your future peace because familiar chaos is comfortable. And that's what I was doing. I was doing that for years. I was sabotaging the good things that were coming into my life, talking myself out of it because I was comfortable with the chaos of what was predictable, with the person who was predictable, the person who was playing games, who had me on this roller coaster. It was predictable. It was a safety net for me. Yeah, it was just like a weird time. I will say with all of that, my lessons this year with love. 1, keep going back to them. Go back to them. I did it a lot. I kept going back to the person. I kept allowing them in. And guess what? They kept showing me who they were. I talked myself out of it for the longest time, but I started to realize like, wait, this is who this person is. Let me allow them space to show me who they are. And they're going to keep disappointing me. You know, they're going to disappoint me once. They're going to disappoint me again and again and again and again until I learn my lesson and set a boundary, until I figure out my self-worth. I just let the person keep coming back in. And you know, it wasn't always bad. I will say that, like, it wasn't bad. It's not like this person did anything so terrible to me. They just weren't giving me exactly what I wanted all the time. They were breadcrumbing me and I was surviving off the crumbs, and I was okay with it because the crumbs were still feeding some part of me. I was like, why am I okay with that? It took me allowing this person back in to learn the lessons that I needed to learn. I had to learn at my own pace. I surrounded myself with the right people who allowed me the space to be honest and open. I would tell Olivia like, hey, like, I did this. You know, I'm going to let him back in. I'm going to give him another chance. Like, whatever. I'm going to go to dinner with him. I'm going to go to lunch with him. And she'd be like, okay. She would never try to keep me back from doing something. And as frustrating as it was for her, it was also as frustrating for me. You know, I knew I wasn't doing the right thing. I knew that maybe that wasn't going to help me. But at the end of the day, it actually did. I learned my own lesson at my own pace, and I healed how I was supposed to heal. And I figured things out for myself. If someone's just telling you the things that you should be doing, if people are on the outside are always going to tell you the exact right thing to do because their emotions aren't involved. They really don't know. You have to go through the process yourself. And by continuing to go back to this person, I came out so much stronger, and I came out with more lessons than I would have come out with if I just listened to the initial piece of advice. I'm not saying go against the grain, go against what everybody says, but at the end of the day, you do have to follow your heart, and you do have to do what you want to do, and you're going to do what you want to do. I've received so much advice from people, and I always did what I want to do. Maybe I end up getting hurt. Maybe I end up running back with my tail between my legs. But I learned my lesson to the point that I'm not going to do it again. I just have so many more tools, and I've learned so much more about myself by continuing to go back and continuing to allow that person to disappoint me. Do what you want with that, but I will just say, like, let them show you who they are. Also believe them. But if your heart is saying go back, do it. It's your life at the end of the day. You will end up with who you're supposed to be with, and you will end up where you're supposed to be. I've also learned this year to keep things more personal, to keep things more between me and the person that I'm talking to. I built a career kind of off of telling my dating stories. I got a little wrapped up in that, especially when I first started my career where I was sharing my like Hinge dating, you know, and that's when I started like gaining a lot of followers and like a lot of attention. Is I kind of lost that boundary. I kind of lost the intimacy of just having something with one person because everything I was doing was now being shared on the internet. And because I was getting positive reinforcement, I was thinking what I was doing was okay. And I'm allowed to share my experiences. It's fun to share. I love allowing you guys in my life. I like sharing my dating with you guys. I like bringing you guys on that journey, but there's some things that don't have to be shared or talked about. I've really learned this year that especially if I really want to build something with somebody and pursue something with somebody, I need to keep it quiet, and I need to keep it between the two of us because that's sacred. And that's a bond, and that's important. And it's really important to me when I'm starting to get to know somebody is to like not ask for everybody's opinion or approval, not let people give their 2 cents and for me to take it to heart. Some people might be like, oh, I don't like him because I don't like the way he said this. Like, I'm not trying to bring my relationship problems or figure out whether or not I like this person through the lens of somebody else. Even my closest friends, unless it's something that like I really need advice on, I don't want to share my relationship with somebody and like put so much emphasis on making sure my friends will like them too, because at the end of the day, like it's me and this person. Yes, I want my friends to like the person that I end up dating, but they will like the person that I end up dating, because I know I'm not going to pick a dud. I know I'm not going to pick somebody who isn't adding value into my life and isn't making me a better person and isn't similar to me, and therefore my friends won't like, if that makes sense. Like my friends are going to like the person that I allow in my life, because I'm not going to allow a shitty person in my life. It's just so important to like keep the things between you guys at first before, allowing other people in, before I introduce to the friends, before I introduce to the family. Like I used to be like, oh, like who cares? Like introduce to my sister right off the bat, like introduce to my like friends, because they're part of my life and I want you to like them and I want you to know them. That stuff can wait. How about we just worry about the two of us at first? So this year I've really learned to kind of keep things private and to keep things more intimate and to like come up with my own judgments and come to my own conclusions instead of asking somebody else's advice who isn't involved in the relationship. I think it just helps me keep my head more clear. I know that I'm making the best decision for myself and also learning to trust myself. That's been like a massive thing. My next thing is tell them how you feel. Tell them how you feel and don't be afraid of it. This year, I had to get over my ego and my fear of rejection. And I did. And it took me just putting myself out there and realizing my self-worth and just knowing that somebody's opinion of me or someone rejecting me doesn't mean I'm a bad person, doesn't mean I'm unlikable, doesn't mean I'm unlovable. It doesn't mean that I didn't do enough. It just means that they're just not my person, and that's okay. And rejection is 100% safe. If you get rejected, that's okay. It's not embarrassing. You don't have to tell people about it. If you want to, you can. It's funny. At the end of the day, it's like, like I got ghosted for my first time this year. And I was like, oh my God, I got ghosted. What? Like, did it hurt a little bit? Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, like there's my answer. There's my answer. And also just like stop it. Like I had to stop getting in the way of myself. Like I was so afraid of being rejected that I wouldn't say some things that I wanted to. I wouldn't voice how I felt, which then led that other person to believe that maybe I didn't like them, or maybe I didn't care, or maybe I didn't have feelings. And I end up just sabotaging them. And then it just ends because I'm too afraid to say something. I actually am quite an oversharer. Like I'm pretty comfortable talking about my feelings, telling people how I feel. Like with my situationship, I'd always tell them how I feel. Always. I did not hold back at all with my feelings. I felt so safe in that relationship because I also felt like it wasn't real. Like I almost already knew the answer. I was still protected when I did it because I always knew the outcome. I always knew that we were in this cycle, and I just felt like comfortable in the chaos. I felt comfortable telling him how I felt because it never infringed on our relationship previously. And he was somebody who I knew like didn't really want something serious. So I was pretty much always safe because it's like he wasn't rejecting me. He was just rejecting the idea of a relationship as a whole. But when it comes to people who are more serious in my life, who are serious people, who, scare me a little bit. It's scary for me to put myself out there. It's scary for me to text first. And that's another thing that I learned. Don't be afraid to text first. I'm not saying chase. I'm not saying like throw yourself at people. But if you just feel like, hey, I want to call this person. Hey, I want to like text this person. I want to check in on this person. Do it. Because at the end of the day, like if you end up in a relationship with this person, they want to know that you like them, and they want to know that you're going to check in on them. Okay, if you don't feel comfortable making somebody your friend, if you don't feel comfortable calling somebody, hey, how are you? Then they're probably not your person. Like it really should feel easy, and it shouldn't feel like you have to play games. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to tell somebody how you feel. Like just this recently, I wanted to see somebody, and he said to me like, oh, like don't think I'm going to make it. And I was like, okay. I just said, okay. And then I was like, great, I'm never going to talk to him again. And then I was like, this is my old pattern. This is what I would do. I would just shove this person away to protect myself. And then I followed up 5 minutes later with a text, which was really risky, like 5 minutes later after an okay. And I came back with a whole different energy and attitude. And I was like, I just really wanted to see you. And then he responded in a positive way, and then we got into a conversation, and then we kind of like communicated instead of me just putting a wall up. And that was growth for me. Even if that doesn't like end up going anywhere, right? It was still growth for me to like say how I felt and be okay with like that person potentially not answering or responding well. And at least I could say, you know, I put myself out there and I told that person how I felt and I wanted to see them, you know, and I'm a little sad. It's okay to like show feelings. It's okay to show vulnerability. Don't be afraid to do that, because then you're just gonna get your answer quicker. And it just shows that you're confident in who you are and yourself and what you bring to the table. I'm like, okay, I wanted to see you. You should feel lucky that I wanted to see you type of energy, instead of like, okay, like afraid. Okay, my next thing, embrace the single life. Embrace it. Love it. If you are single, embrace it. Do not spend your time thinking about how you wish you weren't single. You're going to waste all of your single years wishing you weren't single. And then you're going to get into a relationship and you're like, oh, I didn't do all the things that I want to do. I didn't take advantage of that freedom. I didn't fuck that person at the club that I wanted to fuck. Do it. I had my first one night stand this year, guys. My first one ever. I've never done that. I met a person day of, and I will say he wasn't like a stranger. Like, I'm not gonna share too many details, but like he's somebody like on TikTok who I knew. I ran into him at Equinox. We said hi, exchanged numbers, went to dinner with him and his friend group, ended up sleeping with him. And then we texted like once that night. I sent him a text like a couple days later of something like funny, and he never answered. And I was like, oh my God, am I never going to see this man again? Like, that's crazy. I couldn't wrap my head around sleeping with somebody and like never speaking to them again, never talking to them again. Haven't talked to him since. I'm so happy he never answered, because now I can legitimately say that was a one night stand. And I had my first one night stand, and I used to think like I would feel so horrible afterwards. No, I felt free. I felt like, oh my God, like I hooked up with that person. I did that. It was fun. And that's what it was. And I'm never going to speak to them again. And like, I got what I needed out of that, and he got what he needed out of that. But like, I really did get what I needed out of that. I swear, like since that day, I feel like I took my power back and something shifted in my energy. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I can do that and be okay. And I can do that and enjoy that. And that's okay. If I felt the need to like want to sleep with somebody, cool. Do whatever you want. There was a moment where I was on the couch and this man is on top of me, and I'm like, and things were like getting steamy, and I'm like, am I really going to sleep with this person right now? I was like, in my head, I was like, should I like not? Should I not? Should I like whatever? And I'm like, do I want to date this person? And I was like, I don't know. He doesn't even live here. You know what? Fuck it. Why not? Haven't slept with somebody else in so long. Why not? I feel good about it. I like him. Like he's giving me good energy, good vibes. Like what's the harm? I slept with him and look, I'm fine. And I enjoyed my night. And did I do that all the time? No. But did I want to do that in that moment? Yes. And I did it. And like, I'm like, okay, cool. I have like, you know, that was an experience under my belt, like a one night stand. Whoa, one night stand, Nikki. Who would have thought? Embrace the single life. Have fun with it. You're not going to be single forever. When you start talking to somebody, it starts to feel serious. You're going to panic a little bit. And unless you've like lived out your single years right, correctly, and like learned and dated, you're going to freak out a little bit. You don't want to go into your relationship thinking like, oh, I should have like hooked up with that person, or like just have any sort of desires. You want to be like so sure of yourself and like sure that you've explored all your options and everything. So I get it with the guys now. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, boys, you're doing it right. Just don't play with people's feelings, but like have fun. Have fun. You don't have to be a shitty person to embrace a single life. You can embrace a single life and still treat people with kindness and respectfully. So just have fun respectfully. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it's okay not to date. It's okay not to be on the apps. I deleted the app 7 months ago and I've never been happier. I wasn't like putting dating at the forefront. My brother-in-law, he said something to me like, when are you gonna find your boyfriend, your husband, all this stuff? Because he was getting married at my age. And I'm like, I don't know. It's not important to me right now. Like everybody has different priorities. Everybody's lifestyle is different. I still feel like I have so much life to live being single, and like I have so many things I want to accomplish and do. And maybe this isn't the right time for a person to come into my life. I'm open to it. I'm not going to be fulfilled by just going on random dates with men on Hinge. That's not what's fueling me. Like I have so many things going on in my life. I'm so happy. I'm nurturing the relationships and the friendships that are in front of me. If somebody comes into my life in the 3D world and they ask me out and I feel like the energy, yeah, I'm open to it. But I'm not hyper fixated on dating. And I think like taking away the dating apps has made me stress less about finding my person. And I feel more hopeful than ever that I will. I'm not just like sitting on the dating app scrolling, looking at what's out there and being like, oh, there's nothing out there. Like, no. And then having small talk conversations with people that end up going nowhere and just wasting my energy, wasting my time. Like I felt like I was like matching with a lot of guys who weren't exactly my type, because I was like, okay, well, maybe like their personality, or maybe this, or maybe I'll like them in person. And then I was going on dates with them and I was like, well, these just like aren't panning out. And it's because I just knew in my heart of hearts, like that wasn't my person. And I was trying to like make something fit that just wouldn't ever. And I was leaving dates feeling disappointed. I was leaving dates just knowing they weren't my person. I was leaving dates being like, great, like when he asked me out again, I'm gonna have to say no and explain myself. Like it was taking away like so much of this energy. And I was like, I don't want that. I don't want to like bear that burden anymore. And like, I just don't want to have that energy going to dating apps. I don't want to have this scarcity mindset. I want to know that my person's out there, and they are. And I don't want the person who needs the apps to feel like they can find somebody. And listen, I know it does work for people, but I need somebody who's so extroverted. I need somebody who like just has a lot going on in their life and like is just like living life and it's just out there. I want to meet somebody who's in the same spaces as me organically and naturally. That's just how I want to meet my person. It does work for people. Jordan, my best friend, met her boyfriend on there. And they probably would have never met if they didn't match on there because they live in completely different areas. But they came together and they aligned and it just worked. And it worked immediately. It wasn't like a game, you know, it's like they immediately knew. I just personally know that like if I'm going into these apps thinking it's not going to work, this isn't where I want to find my person, that it's just not going to work for me. I just want to put the energy out in my real world and like meet friends of friends and just feel like I have to put myself out there a little bit more when I am, you know, outside. I don't want to feel like I have to go on the apps to like meet people or like to feel comfortable. Like I want to put myself out there because I want the person who wants me to put themselves out there for me. I want the person who's going to come up to me in the bar. I want to be the person who's not going to be afraid to do that. And I want to be the person who's in kind of a same, you know, lifestyle as me and similar like world as me. That's just what I have to say. Like if you don't want to use the dating apps, don't use the dating apps. If you want to use them, use them. Don't feel the pressure to be on them and be dating all the time because that's what everybody else is doing. I think if you're going into dating feeling like you need to date or like going on several dates a week, you're probably not doing it properly and you're not going to find that person with your energy. Our energy is precious. My next one, when you do find that person, don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to be goofy. Don't be afraid to show your personality. Don't be afraid to like be a little weird. Don't be afraid to come on too strong. Don't be afraid to be like too much. I say in quotes, like you're never too much. Just be you. And if that person doesn't accept you for that, then they're not your person. I think we just try to be so perfect for people when we first meet them. Maybe it's like you're not able to show your personality right off the bat, like your full-blown personality. Like maybe you're not like doing the weirdest things in front of them. That's okay. That's normal. It takes a little while to work up to that. Don't just like compromise who you are. Don't just go with the flow. Don't just do the things that they want to do. Don't just be a people pleaser. Be who you are. Don't be afraid to like have differences from them and see how they react. Be yourself. That is so much more attractive than somebody is trying to like put on a front and be like the best version of themselves. And show your personality. Like don't be afraid to get a little weird. Don't be afraid if you look a little like busted. Who cares? I'm not gonna look great rolling out of bed. And if you end up dating me, this is what you're gonna get. So take it or leave it. Next one, I want to just talk about like life in general. So something personally that I've been working on that this last year is rest days are okay. Rotting on the couch is okay. I used to never take rot days. I used to just like be so go constantly. Like I couldn't sit still. I couldn't sit on my couch. I just slouched on my couch. I never just sat back on my couch and just enjoyed and watched TV. And even if it was sunny out, like I always needed an excuse to be lazy. Either I didn't feel good, like I had to be pushed so to the extreme that I just like physically couldn't get out of bed, or it's like pouring rain out and I just couldn't leave my apartment. But it's so important to take the rest days and it's so important to listen to your body. And these last couple of days, I've just been like having slower mornings. I've just been having slower days. It's so important to move your body, don't get me wrong. But if there's a day that you don't want to, if you just want to be a vegetable, be a vegetable. We deserve that and we need that. You're not wasting your life because you take one day off or a half a day off or a night that you just like stay in and don't go out. It's okay to just rest. So if you need to hear that, it's okay to rest. And I also just say like, don't be afraid to say no. If your friends like are asking you to go out and you just don't want to, don't be afraid to say no. If you want to say yes, say yes. And sometimes we do need to be pushed to say yes. If you haven't been out for a while, like push yourself a little bit, like go out, have fun, live life. But if you just like want to stay in, say no. You should be surrounding yourself with people who will respect that and understand that and be like, okay, no problem. Next one. You don't want people who just like have to convince you to go out, like are just pushing you to do things and like be the person you don't want to be. If you want to say no, say no. I just like completely have gotten over my like FOMO this year. Keep your space clean and make it homey. This is the first year that I've really nested, and it's had a huge impact on me, my attitude, and everything. I have lived in so many apartments and none of them were really my own. And none of them I felt like the want to make cozy and the want to like really invest into. But it's so important to like make your space really comfortable and to keep your space really clean, to surround your space with things that make you happy. If it's the little knickknacks, get the little knickknacks. Make sure that you feel really comfortable at home and your home is an expression of you and your home is a safe space. It's so important to have a space like that allows you to be yourself and allows you to feel comfortable and allows you to really reset and breathe. Just as the people around you are important and impact your attitude and your day and your energy, so does your space. I need artwork. I need artwork. Don't look at me. You're like, Nicole, your apartment's bland. I've gotten so many things. Like I just bought my outdoor furniture. I got my center table. I got my books. Like I have my candles. I am really investing in pieces that I love and that just make me happy. If it means spending the extra whatever it is for something that's like a small detail that makes me happy, do it. Because it's your space and you're going to look at it every single day and it's going to really set the tone for the rest of your life and how your days go. So next time you see me, hopefully I'll have like a really fun piece of artwork here that like I'm going to love. I'm just really waiting to pick the right one. Your space, like curate it to make you happy, curate it to bring out the best version of you and to make you so comfortable. You need to love your environment. So important. How you talk about yourself is how other people talk about you. And this is like a huge thing that I learned this year. Whenever I bring up like an insecurity or something on TikTok, talk about something that maybe somebody would have never noticed, it then becomes like what everybody talks about, or it then becomes what everybody notices, or it then becomes a channel for people to comment on or feel entitled to comment on. And it's like, wait, I wasn't asking for your opinion. So just be careful with like what you say and how you talk about yourself, because some people might take that as an invitation to then talk about you like that, or they're gonna view you like that. If you're talking down on yourself, if you're putting out there like, oh, I don't deserve this, or I can't do this, or like I'm so this, or I feel so fat, or I don't feel comfortable in this, people are gonna like think that about you. They're now gonna notice it. And they're going to know that you're insecure about it. You need to believe in yourself and you need to talk about yourself how you want people to believe in you, because like people reflect that back on you. When I first met Livy, I'll never forget. She was somebody who talks so highly of herself. She's always like, I'm so gorgeous. I'm so this. And like, it's kind of funny. It's like a joke sometimes. She's like, oh my God, I'm so beautiful. Like we'll be talking sometimes. She'll go quiet and she'll be like, sorry, I just got like distracted in the mirror. Like she gives such Leo vibes. She's a Cancer, but like she'll be like, I just got like distracted by how gorgeous I look. I love that for you. You think you should like love yourself that much. Like you should be so into yourself. Like obviously there's a line, like don't be so like egotistical. Like don't be so into yourself that like that's insane. But she'd always just be like, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I was like, yeah, you are. There's no part of me that believes that she won't accomplish all the things that she wants to accomplish or can't accomplish those things that she wants, because she talks about herself like that and I see those things for her. It's really changed the way I talk about myself and my goals and my dreams. And even if I'm saying the most outrageous things, I'm like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to create this. She'll be like, yeah. And because I think that I can do those things, so does she. She thinks I can do those things. So even if it's like people that you talk to in your day-to-day life, make sure you're just talking positively about yourself. Don't be so negative, because people will pick up on that and that's how people will perceive you and that's how people will talk about you. That's the energy that they're going to reflect back to you. Make sure that you are like setting the tone for everybody else in your life around you. People might think you're crazy at first too. Like I feel like I talk about my goals and dreams in front of my family and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And they're like, what? And then I do it and they're like, oh. And they're like, okay, wait, yeah. Yeah, people might think you're crazy at first. When they see it happening for you, they're gonna be like, no shit, wow. Like, wow, it's better than being like, oh, I can't do these things. And then people being like, yeah, you probably can't. Or like, yeah, that is really hard. Or like, yeah, like I want to do that too. I just don't think I can. Because then it's like, wait, I don't want to surround myself with people like that too, who have self-limiting beliefs. If I ever do have a moment where I have a self-limiting belief, I pray that I have the people around me to like pick up my slack when I'm just like down. And I do. Even a couple months ago, I was like, I'm quitting TikTok. I'm quitting. I was like, I'm over it. Like, I just like, shadow ban. She's like, do you love it? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, do you want this many followers? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, so why are you complaining? Keep going. Keep going, because if you stop now, you won't grow and you won't get to where you want to be. And if you keep going, if you push past it, the universe will reward you. And I'm like, you're right. And then that weekend I posted. I had 3 viral videos within a week. And then I hit 400K, and now I'm almost at 420K in just 2 weeks. If I stopped right then and there when I wanted to, I would have never gotten to where I want to be. And I'm going to be at 1 million pretty soon. Mark my fucking words. Okay, next thing. There's going to come a time, girlies. There's going to come a time when you put on your jeans and they don't fit you. And that's okay. This is huge. Our bodies grow and we change. We get older. Things change. I just remember if I used to put on a pair of jeans and it didn't fit me properly or didn't fit me the same or was a little snug, I would have a full mental breakdown. I would be like, great, I got to go on a diet. I'm not leaving my house. I'm wearing all loose clothing. I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to double down. I used to just feel so bad about myself because a piece of fabric didn't fit on my body. And just recently I put on a pair of jeans and I was like, damn, these are tight. I was like jumping into them. I was like, it's just not going to work, babes. Like, it's just not going to work. And instead of like having this mental spiral and being like, okay, I got to lose some weight, I was like, no, my ass just got fat. Like, that's what I wanted. Like, my hard work's paying off. I'm healthy. I'm happy. Let me just find a new pair of pants that fits. Problem solved. Don't have a mental spiral. Just find a new outfit. And that's what I did. And I was like, the pants aren't fitting me because I have food freedom. The pants aren't fitting me because I have a good relationship with food. I bought these pants when I didn't have a good relationship with food. How could I expect them to fit me now that I have a good relationship with food? Now that I have a good relationship with myself? Now that I'm just have a more balanced, healthy diet? I have a more balanced outlook on life. What my pants aren't showing me is the growth, is the good times, is the memories. Would I take fitting into my pants over the moments, the memories, the delicious food, the laughs? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't trade that for the world. If that means that my pants don't fit me, then so be it. Throw them out. Forget that they even existed, because I got new pants I'm growing into. And it's an excuse to shop. So there's going to come a time when your pants don't fit, and that's okay. There's not a chance that I would fit into any of my pants in college or even just a couple years ago. And that's fine, because I'm not the same person. And I don't even have the same style anymore. Like, I don't want those pants anyways. Next one. Give the person a phone call or a FaceTime. So important. If you feel like I should call this person today, do it. Check in on people. Be a good person. Be the person that you want to be friends with. You never know. Life is so short. Things happen. If you feel like I want to check in on this person, give them a phone call. If we've really lost that intimacy, because there's so much easy access to people where we could be like, oh, I sent them a meme today. I sent them a TikTok. I sent them a text. Like, those are bare minimum. That's like bare minimum effort. That's very low effort. You're not really connecting with that person. Give them a phone call. Check in. Do more. Give them a FaceTime. A little bit goes a long way in that sense. And I think a lot of us feel so like alone or lonely. And it's like, what are we doing to foster the relationships around us? What are we doing to not feel that way, to feel less alone? And if everybody's feeling alone, then I'm sure somebody would love a FaceTime or a phone call. So pick up the phone, call people, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes, like that means so much. After this, give somebody a phone call and then tell them to listen to this episode. Next one, trust that it's all part of your story. And lucky girl syndrome is such a thing. I think why a lot of content creators have such good luck, or, come like they're like living these lives that you're like, oh my God, like what? When something like goes wrong in my life, or something funny happens, or something like bad happens, right? At first I'm like kind of like, oh, bummed, but then I'm like, oh, this is content. Oh, I can share this. Oh, I can twist this. I can grow from this, and I can share my experience that makes somebody else's day brighter, or make somebody else laugh, or maybe make somebody else feel less alone. And I think like that's changed my mindset on so many things, where now when like bad things or like unexpected things happen to me, that's okay. That's part of my story, and I'm going to share this, and it's going to help somebody, and I'm also going to grow from it, and I'm also going to laugh about it and know that like this was meant to happen for a reason. And that's kind of lucky girl syndrome. And my career, luckily enough, has fostered that in me, has kind of instilled that in me. But you should go about your day-to-day thinking that too. If something goes wrong, if you miss your train, if you lose something, if you're late to something, if something doesn't pan out for you, you should think, okay, like that's just part of my story. Like that's just how things were supposed to go. Maybe I didn't make that train because of this. Maybe my soulmate's actually on the next train, or whatever it is. Like lucky girl syndrome is so real, and just like not sweating the small stuff, trusting the process of life, not trying to to force things. There's so many aspects of life that we just can't control, but we can control how we react. How we react to something is going to then set up or like volley the next thing that comes into our life, if that makes sense. If you react really negative to something and whatever, you're going to start hyper fixating on all the bad things, and maybe more bad things start happening. If something bad happens and you have a good outlook on it and you have like a positive reaction to it, something positive is going to come out of that. I guarantee it. All right, next, let's get into like work stuff. Okay, my biggest lesson this year was to stop procrastinating. At the beginning of this year, when I first met Livy, I didn't have a podcast, and I had been talking about my podcast or doing a podcast for probably like a year or a year and a half. It was always my dream. And even when I met Livy, I was talking to her about it. I want to start my podcast. I was asking her questions about her podcast. And like, I was like, wow, like, how'd you do that? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, bitch, I started my podcast in a closet, but I started it and I just wanted to do it. I didn't even have video. I just had audio. I just did it. I had like 4 listeners. And I was like, wow, like, I have been procrastinating so long, thinking I needed the best of the best. I needed all the camera angles. I needed like these expensive microphones, this whole setup, this like big light box. Like, I went as far to like do all these things actually in my old apartment. I don't know if you guys remember, I had like big arms with like my podcast thing and like the big box lights. And I was like looking at buying all this like equipment and all this stuff. And I would like go on other people's podcasts and I'd be like, oh my God, like they have all this equipment. I need this equipment. I need this. And it was keeping me from like starting my podcast. Like, it was really just me procrastinating. Like, I kept talking about it, but I wasn't doing it. And it was like, enough is enough. Stop talking about it. Just do it. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to learn as you go. You're not going to know everything going into it. I'm not going to know everything about podcasting going into it. I'm not going to be really good at it at the beginning of it. You know, doing it, even if it's shitty, was better than not doing it at all. And it's going to get me closer to my goal, and I'm going to learn and I'm going to get better. When I started my podcast, I was like, wow, I could have done that a year ago. Like, I really could have done that. All I had to do was get some cover art, which was pretty easy to make. I did half of it myself. And all I needed was to rent a studio and to record and start talking and put it out there. And I could have just done that, but I kept procrastinating because I thought that like I needed all these things. But I was really just scared. And I will say it did all happen in like the right timing. Maybe I wasn't ready then. That's why I was holding myself back, because I knew it just wasn't ready. But I'm confident that if I had taken more steps and just done it, I could have come into it sooner and done it sooner. I am happy that I ended up starting it now at this point in my life, but I could have done it sooner if I just didn't procrastinate. It's not that it like happened all in one day. Rome wasn't built in a day. Take little baby steps. Like, don't be afraid to take a leap of faith. Don't be afraid to trust yourself, and don't be afraid to maybe fail or for it to not be the best, because it probably won't be. Just like my first TikToks were extremely cringe and horrible and got like 10 likes, they still got me to where I want to be today. And if I stopped, or if I never did that, I never took that leap of faith, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so that's the start of anything that you want to do. Nothing's going to be perfect when you first start it, but you should just start it. It's better than nothing. It's going to be more embarrassing to not do it than would be to do it and fail and then learn and then come back better or do it better. If you have something you want to build, create, accomplish, go for it, because I would hate for us all to die without something that you wanted to do put out in this world, because you never know. You could change somebody's life, or your life could be completely different too. Do things that align with your goals. That's the next thing. This year, I got into OnlyFans, and then I quit OnlyFans. And I did it for a couple months because I was like, well, everybody else is doing it. It's quick money. I could use this money to invest into my podcast, into this whole setup, into all these things that I want. Not gonna lie, like, yeah, it's easy money. It's good money. It's pretty normalized here in Miami. Everybody kind of has one, especially like a lot of influencers have them too. But then a part of me was like selling my soul. A part of me was selling my brand, and it was still taking energy and time out of my day. I was putting energy towards something that wasn't aligning with my goals and wasn't getting me closer to my goals. My goals are not to be the top OnlyFans girl. So why am I on it? Why am I doing it? For some quick money? I would rather make money doing something that I really, really love, that I put my heart into, than to make money doing something that I don't, that doesn't feel good, that feels like blood money. I want to earn my money doing something that I love and that's changing somebody's life and is my passion. So that when I look at that, when I look at my bank account, when I look at the things that I've accomplished, when I look at my business, I'm like, I built that by doing this, by believing in myself, not feeling like I had to sell myself. Not physically, not like actually, but like kind of, but like not feeling like I had to sacrifice a piece of myself to make quick money. It was like a security net, and I need to trust myself that like I can take a leap of faith and then maybe invest some money in something that I want to build it up, instead of like, I need to make this quick, easy money to then start my projects. It just didn't feel good. So I quit, and I'm so happy that I did. And even though I'm making a lot less money now, even though there's so much money that I could have made, I feel good. And that's what's important to me, And I feel like I didn't sacrifice a piece of myself to get something. Easy money, quick money does feel good, but is it fulfilling? No. Does that make it worth it? No. That's what I have to say on that. Follow your dreams, follow whatever you want to do, but like, if this isn't getting me closer to what I want to be or who I want to be, to what I want or who I want to be, then why am I doing it? And I'm really happy that I didn't get sucked into that, because I think it's really easy to get lost in that and get comfortable with that. So that pretty much wraps up today's episode of Girl Therapy. We covered a lot. I learned a lot this year. I am so grateful for you guys. I am so grateful for you guys who have been with me from the start since I was, 27 maybe. I think in like 2020, 2021 when I started to like actually have more of a presence on social media. So if you've been with me since then, I love you so much. I appreciate you. Even if you're new here though too, I appreciate you as well, because you're just part of my new chapter. You guys have helped me grow so much and you've seen me change so much, and I couldn't be more grateful. You're the reason why I am able to do what I love, and you are my inspiration, and you guys have changed my life. And I know that sounds really corny and I'm going to cry right now. No, not going to cry, but it's true. And I'm so grateful that you've given me this platform to speak and be myself. And I'm so happy that I've helped you guys come into yourselves too. And that is the most fulfilling thing for me. And that's always what I've wanted. And I can't wait to see us all grow together and for us to like grow up together. Like we're literally growing up together. It's crazy. So I'm just really excited for what this next year is to bring for me and for all of us. And I'm excited to take you guys with me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I won't drag this out too long, but I love you all so very much. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a review. Tell me what you liked. Comment what you learned this year maybe, or what I helped you learn this year, whatever it is. But I will see you next week with a new episode. I hope you have a wonderful day whenever you're listening to this, or night. Ta-ta!